this works. You guys hear me? Great. How's everyone doing today? All right, cool. So are there any marketers in the audience? Just curious. Raise your hand if you're a marketer. Okay, there's some marketers, cool. Salespeople? All right, cool. You're in the right room. By the way, if you're in sales, make sure you get a little sticker that says I close deals. We all close deals. And we have t-shirts too. They're on the table over there. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit around drip campaigns for salespeople. And the reason I asked if there are any marketers in the room is because typically when someone uses the word campaign, marketers are like, hey, did someone say campaign? Salespeople, they don't really think about campaigns. We're too analog, or we used to be too analog. And I think that we're coming up in a time when you have to start thinking about campaigns, or what are the 5 things I'm going to say when I'm engaging with a customer. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today, and how we came about this method that we call 5 by 5. So first, if you think about marketers, for a very long time, they've always thought in terms of campaigns. What are the series of messages that we're going to push towards the customer or the potential customer? How many touches are we going to have? How many different channels can we go through? Whether we're doing TV, radio, print, and how do we segment it? How do we get the right messaging to the right person? Marketers have been thinking about this for the longest time. And if you look at sales, traditional sales, it's been a little bit more analog. It's about being one-to-one with the person you're talking to, looking them in the eye. You're knocking on doors, dialing for dollars. That's how it's been for a very long time. And it's changing. So as marketers have sort of evolved and they've figured out how to really, really automate a lot of the marketing aspects, you have Marketo and Eloqua, those guys have really transformed, and HubSpot have really transformed the industry. There's been some trickle-down effects on sales. So there's some challenges now, and those are the challenges we face even in our inside sales teams. You have less in-person contact, so sales is going more inside. You're doing phone calls and screen sharing. There's an increased volume. There's just sheer volume. There's just more leads coming through than ever before that you have to do something with. And you just can't hire bodies. I mean, you probably don't want to be the organization that says, oh, we have more leads, great, hire more salespeople. One of the biggest things as we've built out our business is we focus a lot on the employee to revenue ratio. And also the salesperson to revenue ratio. How many salespeople do we have, and how much business are each of them closing? And so from day one, we've thought really hard about what are the systems, processes, and principles that we can apply so that each salesperson can do more. And that's the thing that led us to this 5 by 5 method that we started to think about, where to kind of give you a preview, basically what we really started to do was made each salesperson a mini marketing organization as they dealt with the leads and the opportunities and the people they were dealing with. So if you take a closer look at the increased volume, there's more inbound leads, so you have to deal with those. Hopefully you're thinking about inbound. If you're using TaskUs or even Aaron Ross or John Barrows, like if you're using those methods, you hopefully have more SDR-generated opportunities. So that's even more items each salesperson has to deal with. And then if you're in a SaaS business, which we are and a lot of the people in this room are, well, even when you close the deal, there's this whole other stage of it where you have to go after that recurring revenue and upsell and expand. So when you think about it, each salesperson has to do a lot more touches and a lot more interactions to continue to get those deals done. And the answer, let's just agree, the answer is not to just add more buttons. So how do you scale? That's the question, and that's the thing that we started thinking about. As an organization, up until very recently, we tried our best not to raise too much money, and we wanted to get as much revenue as possible with as few people as possible. And the biggest milestone we achieved was raising about $1 million of funding, getting to $1 million in ARR with about 6 people. And the way we got there, the way we got those numbers is because we thought really hard about how do you scale each person. When we started going after that, the first thing we said, there's a couple things we don't want to do. We don't just want to add bodies. We don't want to do it manually. I mean, that's the whole thing against what we do as a company. We don't want salespeople doing busy work. We want as much of their time going towards productive activities. That's what ToutApp is about. And we don't want to do it by gut, meaning if you tell a rep, like, hey, here's all the inbound leads, here are the deals you close, make sure you see if there are any expansion opportunities, and here's some new opportunities that are coming in from the SDR group. Figure out your prioritization and just, do it. They're going to go by gut. They're not going to know how to prioritize. There's no system to help them enable these interactions. So we didn't want to do it by gut. And so that's when we came up with this simple 5 by 5. And it's really simple, but it's really powerful, as we found. We've applied it in all different aspects of our business. And the whole idea behind it is, how do you make salespeople behave like mini marketers and essentially put them at scale? So the 5x5 campaign, it's a very simple idea. What you do is you sit down and you say, all right, there's a certain type of interaction I want my salesperson to go through. There are different categories of interactions. Let's just say dealing with inbound leads, for example. They get assigned an inbound lead. It's awesome, perfect fit for you. How do you go after them? What are the things you say to them? How do you get their attention? And you could just say, hey, here are the types of things that get their attention. And here's the first email. What we said was, like, let's just plan out in a strategic way the 5 different touches a salesperson is going to have to run with an inbound lead. And let's just talk about what makes sense for something like that. So the way we did it is we said we're going to do 5 pre-planned interactions. Whether it's email or a tweet or a LinkedIn message, you can figure it out. We did most of our stuff over email, but we've started to think about other methods and channels as well. Let's put it 5 days apart. So 5 interactions, 5 days apart, so you're not bombarding them. And let's think about what are the different ways we can reach out to them. And these are the different areas we've started to apply this 5x5 method to. So what we did was we said, okay, here are the 5 different types of things we can send to them, and we can apply it in the prospecting and sales development type of things, newly assigned leads, post-sale follow-ups. I'll go into examples of that a little bit later. So the way we broke down the 5x5, now what you don't want to do is just, and everyone knows this already, but you have to remember and remind the reps, what you don't want to do is just keep hitting them up and say, hey, are you interested in our product? Do you like email tracking? Do you like templates? How about now? Do you like, so that doesn't really work. So we said the core of a 5x5 method, regardless of where you're applying it is, it's give and take. You give a little bit, you take a little bit. Give a little bit, you take a little bit. And so the way we structured the 5x5 for whatever part of the process we were working on was you introduce yourself first and just say, like, hey, here's why I'm reaching out, and here's the thing you care about. In the next touch, you provide value. Just completely forget about what your goal is. Maybe this is for driving renewals. Don't talk about renewals. Talk about something around the product or something about how they can get more value. And don't mention anything else. Don't ask for anything. The third interaction, we offer help. Hey, do you need help in anything? Can I get some feedback? That's the next one we look at. And then finally, we go in for the ask. So instead of just going in at the front, we try to always space it out over 5 days or 5 weeks or 5 months, depending on what the interaction is. And then we lead up to the ask after building some sort of rapport with the person. So I'll give you an actual example of how we did this. One of the things that we realized, again, going back to the principle of how do we scale with 6 people and get as many revenues as possible, we did a lot of growth hacks. One of the growth hacks we realized was, even though everyone has a CRM, every salesperson still keeps a spreadsheet. They keep a little spreadsheet on the side. They say, hey, here are my deals. Here's the amount. Here's my own back of the math formula of, like, how much commission I'm gonna make. How many of you keep a spreadsheet of your deals? Okay, all right. For the rest of you, should consider it. It's actually good practice. And what we found was a ton of people were Googling spreadsheet, sales, leads. So we bought the domain spreadsheetcrm.com. It was available, which was awesome. We created a Google Docs spreadsheet template of here's how you track your leads. We added some analytics to it. We integrated it into Tout, so it tells you if you sent an email to someone when they viewed it. And we just put up the site. And if you Google for spreadsheet and sales or any combination of that, Spreadsheet CRM comes up first all the time. And we generate 20 leads every day with title, company, team size, all salespeople every day from this type of thing. Now, how do we apply the 5x5 to this? Because these are inbound leads coming in. These are qualified. They're related to our business. Not directly related, but kind of related. They could probably use our product. So we went and we created this 5x5, apply this 5x5 method to Spreadsheet CRM. And we broke it down into 5 templates. We did a getting started template. Like, hey, thanks for checking out Spreadsheet CRM. Just wanted to introduce myself. We followed up and followed up and followed up, and we automated all of it. But we did it in a way where we applied the 5x5 method, so it wasn't random. So on the second touch, we provided value. On the third touch, we provide some value. On the third touch, we actually engaged for feedback. And finally, we went for the ask, saying, hey, by the way, since you're using this stuff, would you be interested in our sales acceleration platform? And we went in for the kill at that point. So here's an example of one of the templates that we used in the process. And you can see that it's not just falling on the deaf ears. These are people that Googled for spreadsheet, downloaded our template, and are actually engaging with the content that our marketing side has created to get them engaged. And some of them are replying, and some of them are actually going onto the site. That success metric is actually tracking how many people actually clicked through and just signed up for our product itself, ToutApp itself. So it's pretty interesting. I won't go do the advertisement thing. So to recap, you can use the 5x5 for all of these different things. We just did it for inbound leads, but you can actually apply it for different aspects of your business. And the difference here is it's not marketing. It feels like a campaign. You can say, oh, it's an automation campaign, but it's not. It's actually your salespeople doing this. And you can automate these follow-ups. You can say, like, hey, when I send the first template, I want you to follow up every 5 days using these follow-up templates. And that way, a single rep can just literally sit on their desk. And in an automated, strategic way, they're actually touching up on hundreds, if not thousands of leads across different stages of the process, across different goals. And that's a really powerful idea because traditionally, the funnel just delivered a bunch of leads to the salesperson and they just went after it. They're like, hey, are you ready to buy now? You ready to buy now? Nope. Okay, cool. Well, go back to marketing. You're not ready for me. But in a scenario like this, you're turning each of your salespeople into mini marketing organizations. And they're providing value, building relationships, almost in an automated way. And as they're doing that, they're able to process more leads. They're able to use the tracking data to actually focus on the most engaged people. And they're essentially able to close more deals. A couple of best practices that we've come across as we followed the 5x5 method. Automate when possible. So the first thing we say is you don't need to automate this. Just having the 5 templates so the salesperson has a game plan on what does my first touch look like, what does my second one look like, huge, huge improvement. The fact that your new rep comes in and already knows with data how the other reps are actually engaging, not just on the first touch, but across the first 5 touches all the way to the deal close, it's really powerful. So you don't need to automate, but if you can automate, we automate it for the spreadsheet CRM. We don't automate for other things. It's going to be really, really powerful. Personalize as much as possible. You can use ToutApp. You can use Yesware. Whatever you want to use it, but make sure you use a platform that can pull in relevant data from your CRM, from your data sources, so that emails are personalized. Don't send shitty emails, because that won't work. Use engagement data. So one of the things you're going to realize is as your reps are touching upon all these people, certain people are going to bubble up to the top. There's going to be some people that receive those emails and say, yeah, this is great, but I want to buy right now. Or they're going to go to your pricing page. So what we saw with Spreadsheet CRM was they would get these emails, and certain people will bubble up to the top of our live feed, and it would show that they're going to our pricing page, our blog, and we would see it in real time. So you want to use that engagement data and bubble those leads up to the top of the process and say, well, I need to call them now. I was going to give him a call a week later. I wasn't really sure what to do with this guy, but I'm going to call him right now because he's super engaged. He's jumped the line, and I'm going to work with him. And that whole thing accelerates the whole process. And constantly iterate. If you're tracking all of these engagements, these 5x5 messages, you should be able to track them. You should be able to try alternatives. And if you constantly iterate, if you just have one person responsible for trying a different subject line, on the salesperson's behalf or as the salesperson, you're going to get to a really golden set of messaging that you won't have to mess with for a long time. We have one drip that we haven't touched in nearly 6 months, but it's consistently driven 18% conversion in revenue for us. That's really, really powerful. And it's from salespeople, which is the biggest thing. So one thing I do want to outline, which I don't think I've sort of covered yet, is the reason salespeople are sending these emails and the reason that's important, you don't want marketing sending these emails. Because all of these emails are actually just text emails. So if I go back to this email right here, oh, actually I don't have the content, so never mind. They're just text emails. They're not marketing designed or anything. And why that matters is that email is providing value. It's coming not from ToutApp Inc. It's coming from Courtney, which is an actual person. But most importantly, it's an email that prospects will and always reply to. And it'll be completely unrelated to the value you're providing in that particular email. It'll be related more to your deal. But what that's doing is bubbling it up to the top of the list for them and their attention span. So it's really important that sales is sending these emails and these campaigns. A few more best practices. You can get real custom on these 5x5s also. So for example, for spreadsheet CRM, it's 20 leads a day. You know, it's like icing on the cake for us. It's great, but we want to automate it because it's not they're not necessarily high fits. Now, if, for example, we're applying the 5x5 method for driving renewals, for example. So we just closed a $100,000 deal. I want to make sure, and we just got their SDR team, but I want to make sure we get their inside team. That's an upsell. I'm going to put them on a 5x5, my main person. Now, the main thing you want to think about is that shouldn't be automated. That shouldn't be your standard. You should get highly personalized for something like that. And we've used tools like LinkedIn. So use LinkedIn to do your research and try to understand what they care about. I think we're at a point where most people use LinkedIn, so that's not as big of a deal. One trick that I love using is go to Glassdoor.com. Does everyone know what Glassdoor is? Yes, Glassdoor.com, employee reviews. It's fantastic intel on companies and what's actually happening in companies. You can take companies that are about to IPO, you think they're hot shit, go look at the reviews their employees are writing. And you'll find amazing things that you can use in your sales process while you're selling to them. It's like, hey, it looks like half your employees are leaving. Do you need help retaining employees? Like, that's something that can help you. Doesn't matter if they're going to IPO in 6 months. Check Indeed for job listings. Indeed is this massive scraper for all practical purposes. Has every single job listing. I used to post job lists, I didn't even know about Indeed, and they would just pick it up, and that's how we got some of our greatest people. And you can look at the types of things they're hiring for, and that'll give you clues into how you can incorporate that in your 5x5. Hey, it looks like you're hiring a VP of sales. I have a list of VPs of sales because I just finished hiring a VP of sales, and I've met 25 of them over the last 3 months. Do you need some help? Incorporating that, something like that in the 5x5 is really, really powerful. You want to get highly personalized. And read their blog. The blog is essentially the gateway to their soul, to the soul of the company. They're writing about the things that they care about the deepest. So if you read into their blog, you can learn a lot there. And incorporate those things into your 5x5s, and it'll be really, really powerful. So with this 5x5 method, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to take one rep and scale that rep's abilities. You're going to be able to get more out of that one rep because instead of manually and in an ad hoc fashion dealing with, say, 100 leads, they can deal with 500. You couple them up with a system like ToutApp that can track it and do follow-ups, it's going to be really powerful. The 5x5 method will also help train your new people. So instead of saying, hey, go sit next to John and see what he does, or here's a playbook that we follow, you can give them a set of 5x5 touch points with data, showing them like, hey, here's what works. Here's the data to back it up. Don't believe it? That's fine. Clone that template, create a new version, and see if it performs better. If it performs better, we'll push out to the rest of the team. So it'll actually drive consistency across the sales process as well. And most importantly, it'll accelerate your whole process because you're dealing with less reps, dealing with more leads, and those leads will get scored automatically, and the best ones will bubble up to the top. And the best ones will reply to you. And then they'll bubble up to the top of the inbox as well. And that way, naturally, your reps are going to just focus on the ones that are moving, and they're going to be able to close more business a lot faster. The biggest thing that we've taught this 5x5 method to a ton of our customers. We're a big believer in being a teaching company, so a lot of what we do is just go in and help sales teams understand how to best use email and tracking. The biggest thing we found is you don't want to get lazy when you're using this method. There's one way to do it where you go in, yep, got my 5 templates, yeah, I'm providing value there, but I really would like to get that deal done, so I'm going to do a PS, you want to buy now, in the bottom. Don't get lazy. Don't do that. And think about the personalizations. Work hard on the messaging, because if you actually follow the method and you iterate and you look at the data and you consistently get better and better, eventually you're going to get a golden set of 5x5s that you can use across 25 reps, and you've proven it with 3 reps, and that's when you can actually scale and add more bodies. But you'll know that you've got a repeatable process in terms of how you communicate, and that's going to be really powerful. That's all I've got on the 5x5. Thanks a lot. Sounds like I have some time for questions. So any questions? Yep.
I use ToutApp.
Awesome.
I have a question regarding automation. So you're talking about you have your 5 templates. Let's say that somebody ends up responding to you before that next follow-up email.
Yeah.
Is there something where it triggers you saying you need to delete that scheduled email so it doesn't come out to you and is it?
Yep. So aborting a 5x5. 5x5s can be very effective in just getting them along the process. So turning off a 5x5 is actually a really important thing. There's an easy way to do it, and I can send you a resource on how to do that. And we're working on a way where in Gmail or Outlook, if you get a reply back, it'll actually say, hey, by the way, it looks like you got a reply. Do you still want the rest of the 5x5 to continue? This rep can just hit stop, or you can move them to a different 5x5. So that's it's coming soon. Thanks for using Town App. Yeah?
So all of our leads, when they come in or when we procure them, they end up getting entered into a marketing email campaign, a product campaign, and sales reps are sending personalized emails. So they're getting hammered with emails.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little more about best practices around that?
Absolutely. So first of all, we talk about this stuff a lot. The biggest thing we ask is it really depends on what's important to you. I'll tell you what's important to us. With our inbound leads, the biggest thing that's important to us is it's salespeople signing up. We want to just have them using the product. And so we tell marketing, don't bother them. You can only send them a newsletter, that's it. And we put them into sales. And we tell the salespeople, like, your biggest job is to figure out if there's a bigger deal to be had or if it's just one sales rep and they should convert on their own. And so we prioritize automatically on get them activated first and then think about marketing and think about product and all that stuff. Because if you don't get them activated in your product that actively using, if they don't engage, then none of the other stuff matters. And so what we say, we take a very pragmatic approach. We give them the first 2 weeks to activate. If they don't, then we move them to a marketing drip or product drip or whatever you want. And it becomes hard depending on your size. So ideally, the sales acceleration platform you're using integrates with marketing in a solid way. So some of our more advanced customers, the way they have it is they have Tout App hooked into their marketing automation systems, and they can actually detect that if a lead is hot and heavy with sales, tons of engagement, they're looking at proposals, then they're going to put them in a different nurture campaign. So they're enabling the sales process versus trying to do something where they're trying to get them back or reactivate or something like that. So you just, there's no easy answer. You just have to coordinate, and you have to figure out what's important to you depending on when that lead comes in. Does that answer your question? Is that helpful?
Yeah, it's kind of.
Happy to talk more also later on.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to circle the loop with marketing so that when they get hot and heavy, marketing shuts that down.
Yes, you got to get them talking. Yeah. Yep.
You mentioned that some of your high-value leads you're not sort of automating your campaigns with. How are you preventing people that might be considered high value that are signing up for the spreadsheet from going into that automated funnel?
We put a human on it. So, like a lot of this stuff, people are like, how do I automate everything? And, I had a quotation in this thing. The biggest thing I realized as I've talked to more and more of our customers, the reason marketing and sales always has friction is because of this one single thing. Marketing always thinks about aggregates. In aggregate, what percentage are opening, viewing, clicking? In aggregate, what campaign do I put them in? When you move over to sales, sales thinks about the person. A lead is a lead is a lead, and that lead can get me a deal, and I get my commission that way. And that's the fundamental difference. And I think that in this world of automation and sales acceleration platforms, you got to go back to the basics and actually think less in aggregates and more in what is this person and where do they belong. And in a lot of cases, depending on your size and depending on your lead volume, you just put a human being on it. If you're under 500 leads a day, put 2 human beings on it and they can route accordingly. If you're above 500, well, hey, you're killing it. So like at that point, you can automate some of it and put some humans on top. But I think that at the top of that funnel, if you're truly embracing inbound, you really want to figure out how to route it properly in a really smart way. And most of the time, it's a human being that can do that effectively with the right tools. Yep, and then I can go to you.
You score leads before deciding which 5x5 to give them on, or you let 5x, it's one size fits all, and then you let them bubble up and then
we have, so without going too much into our secret sauce, we have multiple 5x5s, but we try to make it not too complicated. So like at most 2. And based on, again, it's a human being that figures out, do I go this way or do I go that way? So we try to keep it rather general up top. And then as things kind of evolve or get passed on, we put them on different 5x5s. But the importance there is just first get the 5x5s. Get one. Get one that, like, at least you have something you tether yourself to. And then from there, you can probably do multiple versions or segment a little bit more. We also don't want to go too crazy either. You, and then I can go to Aaron.
Along the topic of aggregates, I'm sending about personally 100 emails a day through Kader, and I imagine several of your customers are as well. That being said, are you aggregating your data on maybe email subject lines that you see are having the greatest impact?
Yeah. Yeah, so best practices are something we get hit up on all the time. And in theory, we could aggregate data and try to say, hey, this subject line works really well. But we don't do that because what we found is there's no direct correlation. There's no general trend that's coming up. It's hyper-focused on who you're selling to, what you're selling to them, and when. And so what we've done more of, and we're happy to help you if you reach out to our happiness desk, is we can talk to you and look at your data and help you understand what subject lines work better and how to think about it and principles around thinking about subject lines. So we've taken the thing of don't like, at one point there was some guy that was teaching a class to 800 people and they all signed up for ToutApp, and he taught them that using the subject line of quick question mark was kick-ass for getting open rates and click-through rates. It was also kick-ass to get kicked out of our system and marked as spam. So it's like that stuff gets you down the wrong path. What we prefer to do is teach you some principles on how to think about subject lines, and then you come up with your own. Aaron.
Yeah, Tout's awesome. You worried that someone's going to come up with a 6x6 method to teach the market?
They probably will, and then they'll call it revolutionary and brand new, and then we're going to have to relaunch the 5x5 method and tell them why it's better. Thanks, Aaron. We're happy to have you as part of the platform, too. Any, oh, right there.
You guys have plans to update your iOS app?
At some point. So I feel your pain. I'm on an Android, so I don't even get an app right now, and I'm the founder of the company, so it kind of sucks. So we have a huge list, and mobile is important. We just haven't gone there yet, but it's on the list. I'm just curious. Would you want to send emails, or do you want to see your live feed for that?
Live feed.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yep. Okay. I'll tell you what, I want to make sure, I promised Max I wouldn't turn this into an advertisement for Tout, so during lunch we'll come by the booth. We want feature requests and ideas also, so we really want to hear from you guys, and get a t-shirt as well. It says I post deals over here. It's really awesome. Any other questions on the 5x5 method that I can answer, or anything around the sales process? Cool. I think we're done. Thanks. Thanks, guys.